Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the virtual meeting of the Municipal Land Use Board for the Borough of River Edge. It is Wednesday, December 14th, 2022. Time now is 7:32 p.m. This meeting is being held electronically, remotely and recorded via Zoom due to the unavailability of the Borough Council chambers and is otherwise in compliance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act and associated regulations. Notice of this remote meeting was published in the Bergen Record on October 6, 2022, posted on the front doors of Borough Hall and posted on the borough's website. The notice included the dial-in and login information necessary for public participation and access to this meeting remotely. A copy of the agenda for this meeting was made available on the borough's website near the posting of the meeting notice and included the dial-in and the login information. During the public comment period of this meeting, if you would like to make a public comment, please press the raise hand button on Zoom or dial *9 on your telephone keypad to raise your hand. The board will address you by name or by the last four digits of your telephone number. You may mute and unmute yourself by pressing the microphone icon on Zoom or dialing *6 on your telephone keypad. You must state your name and address prior to making a public comment. With that, Ms. Steinle, would you kindly call the roll, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. He is here.
Present.
Mr. Caslin,
Here.
Ms. Boland is excused. Mr. Merman,
Here.
Mr. Pfeffer,
Here.
Mr. Cray,
Here.
Mr. Erekelian is excused, and Mr. Councilman Kamigo is absent at the moment. Mr. Gibbons,
Here.
Mr. Esposito is excused, and Mr. Bastide.
Here.
All right, and Mr. Bastide will be seated to vote tonight. Also present are the planner, Tom Behrens, and engineer, Rob Costa.
Okay, thank you very much. First item on the agenda this evening, did we get minutes for the 10/26 meeting? I apologize. I don't think we did.
Yes.
We did? Okay,
It was a while ago, I think.
yeah. Yes, we did. Okay, here we go. Okay. First item is approval of the minutes from the board's meeting of October 26, 2022. Any comments or questions on the minutes from the board? No. Okay, there being none, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
So moved. Gibbons.
I think I got a first from Mr. Cray and a second from Mr. Gibbons. Okay, well, can we just do a voice vote?
We can do all in favor. Mr. Bastide was not present, so he can't vote on the minutes.
Okay, with the exception of Mr. Bastide, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained other than Mr. Bastide? Okay, thank you very much. Next item this evening is an item for discussion. This is regarding the schedule for our meetings for next year, 2023. Hard to believe, but the list of proposed dates is out. These will be formally approved at the reorg meeting in January, but I guess for now, if there's any questions, any thoughts that people have on the list that was circulated, can certainly take a couple seconds to talk about that now. Otherwise, we will hold those aside for action in January. Silence being golden. We will put it
Mr.
aside.
Chairman, one quick, November 22nd, I think, is the Wednesday preceding Thanksgiving.
That it is, Mr. Bastide, you are correct.
It is.
Okay, fair enough. Just wanted to make sure. Is that a, okay, I don't know if that's a really good date for all, but just wanted to at least point that out to the committee here.
I think that's a good point. We might want to move that date.
Perhaps the week prior, if we're back in chambers and if the chambers are otherwise available, or if we are still working remotely, maybe we make it the 15th. So,
Okay.
actually, you know what? We could do the 29th because then that would kind of balance out the because the next meeting, the first meeting in December is the 13th.
Right.
29th works for me. I don't know about anybody else.
I'll set it up for the 29th.
Why
And we
don't
can always
okay.
change it at the reorg meeting.
Okay, why don't we then, we'll go for the 29th then. Okay. Very good. Thank you all. All right, next item is another under discussion this evening is a prior application heard by the board. The applicant ILBJ LLC, property in question is 335 Johnson Avenue, block 1405, lot 3. There is a proposal before us concerning assignment of the existing developers agreement that was entered into by the applicant. Apparently, the applicant is selling the property. Ms. Steinle, I don't know if you have any other background you can share with us.
Yes, so this applicant previously received site plan approval, and they've come before this board a few times to extend that approval. Now they're selling the property, and so along with it, they want to assign the developers agreement with the borough. Usually those agreements are just between the borough and the developer, but this one was also signed by the land use board. So we are also a party to the agreement. So this is just assigning all of the rights and requirements under the developer's agreement to the new owner. Actually, I think it'll be a new developer, not necessarily the property owner, but essentially the same thing.
Do we have any information on timing when this transaction is supposed to take place?
That I'm not sure. They may have already closed. I know that the Borough Council also considered a resolution to authorize the assignment. I think last month or the month previous. But I
So,
don't have an update on the closing.
Marina, we're talking about, what's the name of the company again? Because it's not showing up on my agenda.
ILBJ LLC. It's 335 Johnson Avenue.
Yeah.
It's the
So that particular property has some sort of trust, I believe, or funding that they needed to do. And we had not received confirmation of a transfer. So we have tabled it for the last couple of meetings, at least 2, maybe 3 meetings. So Marina, I suggest that you reach out to Lizette Apertola, our BA, and she can give you an update on that. But I don't, I might recommend to this body that it takes no action at this point.
Okay, we can adjourn until the escrow and the performance bond are transferred to the borough. That's what the developer's agreement requires, the new developer to provide a performance bond to the borough. So I'll confirm with the borough administrator, but we can carry this, we can table this for now and put it on the next agenda if you'd like.
okay. Before we table it, let me just open it up to the board. Any questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, sir, Mr. Merman.
The prior approvals had expiration dates. Is there currently, once we take this action, is there still an expiration date for them to pull permits or?
As I understand it, then Maria can correct me if I'm wrong. As I understand it, it's an assignment of the existing rights and obligations under that development agreement. The timing carries along with the most recent action that we took to extend, I think, for 1 more year. They were in before us earlier this year.
Right.
So as I understand it, all of that is still remains the same timing milestones that they're required. The new S&E would be required to comply with. So the fact that we would whatever action we ultimately take on the assignment at a later date shouldn't affect the timeline. The existing time milestone.
So if I hear you correctly, there would be a transfer and expiration date. And they could very well be, the new owners could very well be before us again with hat in hand.
That is correct.
Okay,
Can I just
very
make a
good. Thank
comment?
you.
Mr. Alder?
Chairman? I spoke to the developer's attorney this week and they said they are not going to close until they receive this signed developer's agreement, the assignment. So they left it saying that they were not going to close until they got the signatures on this agreement. So, I mean, you can still postpone it, do whatever you want. I just thought I'd let you know that.
The assignment, so the assignment of the developer's agreement is the document that will allow the new developer to get the performance bond to the borough, and any other bonds in escrow. So that's why the board, that's why we're putting, this is on the agenda for the board to consider the authorization and execution of
Then
the agreement.
Maureen, I didn't, I was not, I'm not aware of those protocols. So I withdraw my objection. It was only an objection for procedural reasons, but it appears that it would not be germane.
So perhaps we can take action on it this evening and just hold the actual execution and delivery of the assignment pending the availability of the new bonds, or is that something we can do? Or in order for them to pull the bonds, they actually need to be the developer under the development agreement. Just trying to figure
think-
the order of operation.
Yeah. Yep, I think tonight we can authorize the execution of the assignment agreement, and then I can confirm the timing of when the bond will be posted, and whether if the bond can be posted before the signatures, we can hold off on giving them the signed resolution or the signed document until then. But if that's not the case, then we can forward over the signed agreement to them, so then they can finalize all the payments and transfer and posting of the bond.
Okay. That being the case, then I would propose we take action on this evening. Any further questions, comments from the board on this particular matter? Okay. That being the case, then I'll entertain a motion from the board to approve authorization of the chairman of the board and the secretary signing the acknowledgement to the assignment of this development agreement.
Which would indicate the execution of the assignment agreement.
Correct.
I think you might want to tuck those words in. Okay, so I'll make that motion as we just discussed.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Merman. Have a second?
Second, Gibbons.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbons. Okay. Ms.
And I'll
Nyla,
do a roll
do a
call
roll
vote.
call on this one, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
Mr. Caslin,
Yes,
Mr. Merman,
Yes,
Mr. Pfeffer,
Yes.
Mr. Cray,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons,
Yes.
and Mr. Bastide.
Yeah, I'm going to abstain just because I think there's a long history on this one that I haven't participated in, so I'll abstain.
Okay,
okay, very
thank
good.
you.
Thank you, everyone. Our next item on the agenda this evening are memorializations. First one up is 472 River Edge LLC, doing business as the Bubble Tea Cafe. Subject property is 472 Kinderkamak Road, Block 804, Lot 13 and 14. A draft resolution was circulated prior to the meeting this evening, and I open it up to the board for comments or questions on the draft resolution. Okay, there being none, I will entertain a motion to approve the resolution as drafted.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Cray. Have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Pfeffer.
All right, and I'll only call those who are eligible to vote. Mr. Mayor,
yes,
Mr. Caslin,
Yes,
Mr. Merman,
yes,
Mr. Pfeffer,
Yes.
Mr. Cray,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons.
Yes.
All right, the motion passes.
Thank you, everyone. Our next item under memorializations is the 821 Car Club LLC. This is 821 Kindermack Road, Block 206, Lot 9.0. This was a application approving site plan approval, use variance, and bulk variance relief. Draft of the resolutions were circulated prior to the meeting. Comments or questions from the board? Okay, I think I'd like to make one comment, if I may, in paragraph 12 on page 6. I think we should, there's reference to minor repairs being made on the property. I think we should make it clear, there was testimony given that there'd be no equipment provided by the applicant on site. The anticipation was that all tools and equipment would be brought in and out by the customers making those minor repairs. I think we might want to just reference something to that effect so that it's clear that it's not a business that's otherwise open to the public for repairs.
Okay, great. I will make that change.
Okay. With that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolutions.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbons. Have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Craig.
All right, and again, I'll only call those who are eligible to vote. Mr. Caslin,
Yes.
Mr. Pfeffer,
Yes.
Mr. Cray,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons.
Yes.
All right, the motion passes.
Hey, thank you, everyone. All right, next on our agenda this evening is completeness review. The applicant is Matt Park. Subject property is 210 Manchester Road, Block 901, Lot 19. This is an application seeking approval for the installation of a new front entry and portico addition with an extension 6 feet into the required front yard setback, seeking a front yard setback variance. I believe the applicant, I see the applicant. Good evening, Mr. Park.
Good evening. I'm here with my wife, Lauren.
Okay. Why don't you just stand by for a second, Marina?
So prior to this meeting, I reviewed the proofs submitted by the applicant and found them to be sufficient for the board to have jurisdiction to hear the application tonight.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Mr. Barons, good evening.
Good evening, everyone. And similarly, I've reviewed the application materials, which include the plans for the improvements, the property survey, and some photos offered by the applicant for surrounding porticos that they deem to be similar to what they're proposing. So I think the board can deem the application complete to proceed.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Barons. Comments, questions from the board on the application for completeness, as far as completeness is concerned? Okay, there being none, I will entertain a motion on completeness.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Pfeffer. Have a second?
Second.
I think that was Mr. Gibbons.
Oh, I didn't hear it. That was Mr. Gibbons?
I think so.
Sure, I'll take it.
Ryan was that?
The hand went up.
All right, I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Caslin,
Yes.
Mr. Merman,
Yes,
Mr. Pfeffer,
Yep.
Mr. Cray,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons,
Yes.
Mr. Bastide.
Yes.
All right, motion passes.
All right, thank you, everyone. Our next item this evening is under the new business category. The applicant is Matt Park. Subject property is 210 Manchester Road, Lot 19 and Block 901. This is seeking a front yard setback variance for the installation of a new front entry and portico addition and within the front yard setback. Good evening, Mr. Park.
Good evening. Nice
Um,
to be here.
So are you're going to be giving testimony? Is your wife going to be giving testimony as well? Because we'll have to swear you in before we get started. So
I mean, if,
we can
you know,
swear
she,
both of you in just to make it easy.
yeah, I think she would like to be
Yeah.
here. She's, you know,
Okay.
also, a proud owner of
Great.
our house.
Okay, absolutely. So Ms. Steinle will do the honors.
All right, if you please raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
All right, and please state your name and spell your last name for the record.
Lauren Park, P-A-R-K is my last name.
And Matthew Park, P-A-R-K.
All right, thank you.
Okay. So if you would, for the board, would you kindly give us a summary as to the application and the work you're looking to, and the improvements you're looking to make to your home?
Sure. First of all, we just wanted to say that we're very proud residents of this town. We moved here in 2016 when it was just the two of us, and now we have a 4-year-old child. So our family is growing, but our house remains the same. And when we purchased our home, you know, this home on Manchester Road is kind of similar to every other house on this road, because they were probably the same exact home at one point. And then eventually people started making additions and renovations to the home. What we are trying to do is we're trying to install a new, essentially entryway, an enclosed entryway, and have, you know, a portico attached to that. We are, right now, we don't have anything in our front. You know, if you open up our front door, it's we don't have an awning, we don't have a portico, we don't have anything but steps and a railing that, you know, it probably has not been worked on for a long time. I mean, we have, you know, some cracks, and, you know, it's starting to become a safety issue. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to, you know, at this point, essentially renovate that area to install an addition. And when I say addition, I mean this, you know, portico entryway space. So that is basically what we have submitted as what we would like to do in terms of getting this variance, because we do understand it's non-conforming.
So could you give us a brief description of the materials you intend to use and some of the dimensions of the portico?
Sure. So I had provided the site plan, proposed site plan. The materials, when we spoke with our contractor, you know, it's really nothing more than, you know, just framing it out, some concrete work, masonry for steps, vinyl siding to match the existing home, roofing shingles to match the existing roof. We'd like to, obviously, for safety, include an aluminum railing. And there would be posts. And for the interior materials, it would just, again, be framing it out with, you know, some sheetrock, tiles, insulation. And we would probably, once the addition is done, you know, install like some storage, like a bench for essentially like a mud room type of thing. And in terms of any electrical or lighting, we don't intend to, we currently have a light outside of our door right now. We probably will just move that to the middle of the entryway. So I hope that answers your question. You know, essentially, you know, I know that one of the issues that, you know, after speaking with Mr. Alter, which Mr. Alter has been great in helping us with this application. You know, one of the questions might be, you know, why does it have to be this size? You know, why does it have to extend out, you know, this much? And basically, the answer that you know, we'd like to give is basically that our architect and I, you know, obviously we could have submitted a proposal that would have been bigger, could have been bigger. We also could have submitted something that could have been smaller. But in terms of being proportional to our house, to make it look nice, and for us to have an interior space of approximately, 3 by 3, which our architect recommended was the absolute minimum amount of space that he would recommend for us to actually be able to like move around and use that space efficiently. That is the reason why we have, submitted our proposed portico with the sizes that we submitted with.
Are the pictures you submitted with your application? Looks like they're 3 different, are these examples of homes with a similar portico on your block or within the vicinity of your home?
Yes. The first one on the left is 407 Elm Avenue. That's a block away. The other one to the right, top right, is 180 Manchester, which is essentially 2 homes down. And the other one is 200 Berkeley. So this is all within, literally, I mean, I could probably throw a ball and hit each house. But those are just 3 examples. Those are the more like recent, renovations that contractors have done in this area. There are other homes with similar types of entryways and porticos, but I thought that would be the best representation of what we're trying to do and accomplish. And obviously, I think that it would improve the aesthetics of the community as well, and the residents, as well as providing safety for, our family, our 4-year-old kid. So yes, that's all within the neighborhood.
Okay, great. Anything further before we open up to the professionals and the board?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. Great, thank you for that. Mr. Behrens, can I start with you?
Sure, good evening. I'll offer my observations about the application. It is fairly straightforward, as Mr. and Mrs. Park represented. I'll note that the existing house is set back 31 feet from the street, where a minimum 30-foot setbacks required, so they're back an extra foot. And this portico projects, well, the dimensions of the whole addition are 7 by 9, so the depth of 7 feet, width of 9 feet. 4 feet of that depth are for this new enclosed vestibule, and 3 feet are for the unenclosed porch, or portico with a roof, for a total of 63 square feet. The borough does permit porticos to extend into a front yard area up to 5 feet into the yard area and 35 square feet. So hence the need for a variance. Again, it extends a total of 6 feet into the front yard and exceeds that 35 square foot threshold. So that's what's triggering the variance here. And otherwise, the proposal conforms in all other respects with the ordinance. It's 1 story in height, and that's about it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Behrens. Mr. Costa, good evening.
Mr. Chairman, good evening. I really have nothing to add.
Okay, very good. Thanks, sir.
And probably the whole board is happy because of that.
All right, we'll start with the questions from the board. Mr. Craig, can I start with you?
Sure. I guess the only question I have is the porticos that you showed us, did you take any notice of whether they were conforming or not as far as the setback, or not really?
In terms of the that, I have not spoken with my neighbors concerning that. I mean, I asked for permission to take a picture of their of their house. I did take a look into the home on 180 Manchester. He's good neighbor of ours. When they moved in, they purchased a home that was fully renovated. I guess a local contractor had fixed and kind of flipped it. And so all the variances and stuff had already been issued. So he said that was also probably one of the things that had required a variance at that time, which the contractor had obtained, fixed the property, and then sold to him.
Other than that, no, I have no other questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cray. I'm gonna go across the board to Mr. Mayor.
I'm good.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Welcome.
I'm gonna
Thank you.
Go further across to Mr. Pfeffer.
Nothing from me. Sounds good.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Gibbons.
No questions. This seems pretty straightforward, so no.
All right. I'm gonna drop down to the bottom to Mr. Bastide.
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we'll leave the best for last. Mr. Merman.
Would you believe this? I have no questions.
I think I might have to go out and buy a lottery ticket. Excuse me. No, but thank you. Very good. All right. No questions from the board at this point in time. We'll open it for public comment. Marina, I don't think we have any.
There aren't any members of the public.
All right, well, we'll do the pro forma. All right, we'll open briefly. Take a motion to open to the public on this application.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbons. I have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Pfeffer. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed, any abstained? There being none, we're now open to the public.
All right,
Being known in
no
public.
one is calling in, so we're good.
We're good to go. Okay, very good. All right, we'll take a motion to close the public, please.
So moved.
Moved.
I heard Mr. Pfeffer
Second.
and Mr. Cray. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed and abstained. All right, at this time, we are now closed to the public on this application. Members of the board, I have nothing further to add. I will look. to
I'll,
the board for
Mr.
a,
Chairman, I'll make a motion on this. Make a motion that for block 90119, that we approve the front yard setback as explained in the application.
Okay, very good.
Second.
There's- I think I heard a second from Mr. Pfeffer. Ms. Steinle, when you're ready.
All right, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Caslin,
Yes.
Mr. Merman,
Yes,
Mr. Pfeffer,
Yes.
Mr. Cray,
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons,
Yes.
and Mr. Bastide.
Yes.
All right, the motion passes.
wonderful.
Congratulations, folks.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Best of
Really
luck with the
appreciate it.
project. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you.
Happy
Same.
holidays.
Happy holidays.
So I have a question on applications like this. I don't know if we want to, we have other business or,
We're at the end of the agenda, so this can be time for discussion.
do other towns or anywhere else have leeway that can be given on applications like this? I mean, this one seems very straightforward and, you know, a few feet into the setback for a portico or a porch that we all seem to be in favor of allowing these things. Do we have any leeway within the building department to within a certain percentage or anything along those lines?
Sort of administrative approval.
I'll give you my thoughts on it. And again, this is based on my involvement in River Edge and elsewhere. I you know, as the acting zoning officer, and, you know, I try to exercise, you know, as much discretion and flexibility as we can, especially when trying to work with residents. I will say that there are some aspects of the ordinance that are black and white, and there is a provision that does allow for an extension of, you know, porticos up to a certain amount. You know, so you try to take everything into consideration, but we do have to apply the ordinance evenly. And, you know, we'll point things out to residents about how things could be made conforming and try to work with them, et cetera. We you know, sometimes take existing conditions into consideration. But again, something like this, it becomes a question of where do you draw the line? So,
Yeah.
you know, again, we try to be fair, try to be flexible, but it's just my experience, and I'm learning every day that you do have to draw the line somewhere, and that's where
Yeah.
you guys come in.
Yeah, no, I get that. And, you know, I don't know, I guess just kind of throwing it out there is, does something like this, a portico / porch that, I mean, I know I'm speaking for myself, but for most people, I would think would add value, add to the neighborhood, you know, within reason that maybe that could be looked at within the ordinance, because, something like this, helps the homeowner. And unless it's, 14 feet from the sidewalk, it's going to be helping the neighborhood, I would think.
I think it's a precedental issue too. If and I think to Tom's point, at what point is the line drawn? Where do we have to take action? I think that's where it becomes difficult to make that call. I understand your point. Certainly, is there a way to make things more efficient without having to put homeowners through the process? But I think that's why we're here to kind of make sure that everything is being done appropriately. And this was a great example of, everything was lined up. It was quote unquote much, there weren't really a lot of speed bumps or roadblocks on this one to get by to give them a quick approval. Mr. Pfeffer, I think you were looking to.
Yeah,
say something too.
I basically agree with what you just said. I think as much as I hate bureaucracy and certainly unnecessary red tape, I do think that it probably makes sense to err on the side of caution. I mean, we've all certainly had enough meetings where what seems like a non-issue to one person is a big deal to someone else. And, one person will say, oh, this doesn't seem controversial, let's just vote on it. And another person has 10 objections to the same thing. So I think in the spirit of just fully vetting everything and making sure that all voices get heard, or at least a multitude of voices get heard, we should probably just keep it the way it is. It's also a protection for whoever. I mean, I would hate for Tom to be in that position all the time of having to figure out, well, can I do this unilaterally or should it go to the board? Because that's probably too much to ask of one person, even Tom.
So totally understood. And I was not trying to put anything else on Tom's, I'm just looking at an application.
Yeah,
I'm
I
looking at a
understand.
denial letter from October. It's now mid-December. Whatever fees these folks had to pay, just trying to make it a little easier on the homeowner. And, I guess it would essentially come down to, what the ordinance would allow. And, if maybe at some point that could be, or would need to be looked at just to kind of keep up with the trends in real estate and what people are looking to do in this town. So that's all. Not looking to make any more work for you, Tom.
No, and I understood where your comment was coming from. And again, I try to use my discretion and flexibility with residents, especially. I would offer that I think the current encroachment provision that's, limited to a 5-foot projection and 35 square feet is probably small in today's standards. So I know we've looked at, allowing for, porches to extend into the front yard. So I think this is something that could be expanded with the other ordinance modifications which we discussed, which will be forthcoming and probably available at the board's next meeting.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
Speaking of the next meeting, Ed, do we have anything on the agenda?
No, I was going to interrupt before everybody left. There is nothing on the agenda for the next meeting, which is scheduled for December 28th on Wednesday. So that leaves us for the reorg meeting on the 11th of January as the next meeting. Unless some emergency pops up, but I have no applications for the next meeting.
Okay, so I guess this is probably going to be our last meeting for the year.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Merman.
under board member comments, so I would like to make a comment.
Please proceed, Mr. Merman.
Excuse me?
Please proceed.
Okay, as we've discussed, this is the end of the year. Normally, the beginning of the year, we receive a year-end report of or a summary of our annual activities. I just want to mention that, and I think I will be looking forward to that. So for those who prepare it, you can get started.
Fair warning.
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Merman. All right.
And I wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays while I got the floor.
All right.
Okay.
Very good. Well,
I'm
appreciate
done for the
everybody's.
year.
You've done. I think we're all done for the year. It's been a great year. Appreciate everybody's hard work and efforts. Certainly, I think Dunkin' Donuts was probably the deal of the year, or the application of the year for this board. Although I somehow managed to not be involved in that. But I appreciate, on behalf of, I know Jim had expressed his appreciation for all the hard work that the board members put in, to get that application heard and action taken upon it. And so I'm sure good things for next year as well. Just thank you all for being here and being a part of this board and for all your efforts and energy throughout the year.
Chris, may I? Chris,
Yes,
may I speak?
sure.
Absolutely. So I want to thank all of our professionals, and I'd like to thank all of our volunteers for everything you do, but especially you, Chris, and Dick, I think you are co-chair, and
Yeah.
and Ryan, I believe you, no, who is treasurer? I mean, secretary.
I'm the
Ryan.
second.
Yeah, I
Ryan,
thought so. For a moment, I thought I got it wrong. And Ryan, for leading us through this and everything, and all of our members, and of course, you guys do a lot of good work for the town. And so on behalf of the council, I want to offer our thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I am Mrs.
Right.
All right. With that, nothing else further. I wish you all a great holiday, great new year, and we'll see you in January.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Merry
Take care,
Merry
everyone.
Thank you.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Happy
Take
Hanukkah,
care.
happy
Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas.
Do we need a motion to close?
Yes.
Probably a good idea. You want to make it?
Sure, let's do it.
All right. We'll have a second.
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 All right. Mr. Busty, all in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Aye.
Have a great night, everyone.
Take care.
Good
everyone.
night.
Good night.
Good night.
hey, Chris, are you still there? Oh, he's gone.